Welcome to Daf Peches of Likkutei Torah in Sefer Bamidbar. This is the first mimer and the beginning of the second mimer of Parshas Masei. The pasuk says, "Eile Masei Bnei Yisrael sheyatzu me'eretz Mitzrayim," that these are the journeys of Bnei Yisrael who left Egypt, b'yad Moshe v'Aaron, led by Moshe and Aaron. Now, just as in this pasuk it mentions Moshe and Aaron as the leaders, in Tehillim also it says, that you were led like sheep, your nation were led like sheep in the hands of Moshe and Aaron. So we're going to explain in this mimer what Moshe adds spiritually, how Moshe guides us spiritually, and how Aaron guides us in a different way spiritually. Now, when someone wants to cleave to Hashem, really deeply attach himself to Hashem, so it's obviously very difficult. The pasuk says in Tehillim, and we say it in Shir Shayim for Sunday, that Mi Ya'aleh v'har Hashem, who can ascend on the mountain of Hashem, or Mi Yakum, and who can get up. And we continue Nekicha Payim Uvar Levav, that only someone with of clean hands spiritually and a pure heart can ascend. And then the pasuk continues, Asheloi Nasa Lashav Nafshi, who didn't, simply we translate it as who didn't take Hashem's name in vain, who didn't swear on Hashem's name in vain, someone very honest. But this word Nafshi, although that's the way we read the pasuk, that's the Kri, but the Ksiv of the pasuk is actually Nafshoi, his song, talking about the person. And the meaning is that only someone who doesn't lift himself up, he doesn't lift himself up to pretend to be somewhere spiritually higher than he really is, in a genuine and fully integrated and sincere way. So it's very hard to achieve Dvei, because you have to have these high levels of purity, sincerity. And therefore, how do we get there? So the solution is, this is what we need Moshe and Aaron for. Moshe and Aaron both give us simple paths. Now, in Pirkei Avos it says that im ein yira ein chachma, and im ein chachma ein yira. If you don't have reverence, you can't come to wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, you can't come to reverence. So then where can you start? You can't get to either without the other one. Well, in Pirkei Avos it also says that if someone has more yiras chet, more fear of sin, then that comes before his wisdom, then his wisdom will last. And then, whereas otherwise it won't last. So it sounds like there are situations, and in general, the starting point is that you need yira first. And then there are other times where you need more chachma than yira. What do we mean? Well, there are some things that are clear, they're black and white, and we know that this is allowed, this is not allowed. And there, the main thing is yiras chet. We don't need wisdom. What we need is yiras shamayim in order to do the right thing and to stay away from what is just disgusting to Hashem. But then there's another situation, there's gray area, something which is not explicitly prohibited, it's within Klippas Noga, and then it can be quite difficult to really know what is coming from the side of holiness and the Nefesh Lekis, and what is coming from the Nefesh Bahamis. And it's very possible that we might not be doing anything wrong technically, but we're acting like a novel, a disgusting person with Torah's permission. Torah never said clearly no, like the Ramban explains in the beginning of Kedoshim. And what we have to do is to sanctify ourselves even with what is permitted. So for this, we need a lot of wisdom, because it's not so simple. And that is given by Moshe and Aaron. Moshe is the shushvin of the groom, the one who the best man of the groom, who takes the chasen to the chuppah. And then Aaron is the shushvin of the queen, of the kala. He takes the bride to the chuppah, to the wedding canopy. And in this case, so we have Hashem being led towards us by Moshe, Aaron leading us towards Hashem. So let's start with Moshe. So Moshe brings Hashem's presence down, so to speak, in order to unite with us and with this physical world, that Hashem should surround the world and fill the world. And this is through Torah and mitzvahs, because Torah is all names of Hashem, it says, and a name, on one hand, it represents sort of the lowest point, that the name, you only need a name for someone else, but still, even names of Hashem, it's still totally beyond us. And therefore, when we approach Torah and we assume it to be totally within our understanding, then it's obviously not going to be that. It's godly and it's totally above. And therefore, Torah is one way that Moshe brings Hashem to us. Torah is really godliness, and Moshe is bringing it into our world. The same thing in mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are really the limbs of the king. And the limb is not just a physical piece of meat, but it's something that holds the energy, the chayas of the soul. And in this case, the mitzvahs are limbs that they hold the godly chayas. There are two types of chayas. There's two types of vitality. There's the fact that a person is alive in general, and then there's the specific energy that each limb uses. So, for example, the eye is alive, but then the eye also can see. And that's two types of energies, vitalities that the soul gives to the eye. So similarly with each mitzvah, so in general, mitzvahs are all godliness, they're all from Hashem. And then also every mitzvah has its specific energy. Like, for example, with talis, that it's sovev, it surrounds us. And it represents the sovev energy, how Hashem surrounds worlds. Then with the tefillin, that it's connected with Hashem's oneness. In tefillin, it says Hashem Echad. And so each of these energies helps to separate us from the bad. Because when we add godliness, the bad automatically dissipates and it melts. Like it says that it's like wax in front of a fire, that the bad just disappears. And that's why when Hashem came down on Har Sinai to give the Torah, it says that it was smoking. This was the burning away of all thorns, of all evil. This is through Moshe. Moshe is his quality is das, this awareness and knowledge. And a person doesn't sin when he has das. It's only when a person sins, it's only because nichnas by ruach shtus, that a spirit of folly came into him. But if he would really recognize that this avera, this sin, is making him separate from Hashem, then he would never want to sin, because the deepest desire of every yid is to be one and to be close to Hashem. Just like a child doesn't want to be separate from his or her parents. And the fact that we may sin is when we don't realize that this is what's happening. Now, this is the meaning of to sanctify yourself with what's permitted to you, that it's only permitted to you, meaning to the body, but the soul has no interest in it, because it's separating him from Hashem. And even darkness, even a fire can't really separate, like it says, that even darkness won't darken before you. This is the meaning of the pasuk that says, "V'yisem kadoshim," that you shall be holy, ki kadosh ani, because I, Hashem, am holy. What's the meaning? That we want to be just like Hashem. We want to be with Hashem, attached to Hashem, and therefore, if Hashem's holy, we want to be holy. We want to be with Hashem. That's also the meaning of the Shem Yichud Shmerling, that it's about uniting Hashem with the Shekhinah, which is godliness as it is manifest within the world. And that's what Moshe does. Then Aaron is the other side of the coin, that he brings us towards Hashem with a passion and desire and love, and that is in davening. So Moshe's Torah mitzvahs, which is bringing godliness down to us, whereas Aaron is davening, where we lift ourselves up towards Hashem. Like it says, that my soul thirsts for you, Hashem. And this is the goal in davening. Everything we say, all the davening we say till Shema, the Pesukei Zimra, etc., it's all to get to this passion and yearning for Hashem, so that we can say V'ahavta, that you shall love Hashem in Shema. Now, really, every yid already loves Hashem. So we don't have to create something new, but we can also reveal the love that we already have. Although sometimes it's concealed and it's in exile, like it says, that even when we went into exile in Edom, the Shekhinah is still with us, meaning that even when we behave like Edom, that we're behaving in a coarse way and in a forbidden way even, but still Hashem is really with us, and that love for Hashem is still really with us. We just have to reveal it. And then the heart will be full of passion, and all it will want is to be bottled to Hashem, to be nullified before Hashem. Because that's the truth, that physical is nullified before spiritual, like an action compared to a thought. Or like the Gemara says in Chagiga, that Raglei Achayas Keneged Kulon, that just the feet of the Chayas, of these angels, are correspond, they're equal to the entire world and more. And this is even the feet, which is the lowest level within the angels. Over the page, because physical has no comparison compared to spiritual. And even within physical, our world is nothing compared to the larger planets and galaxies, etc. Although they're physical as well, but we're still nothing compared to them. And similarly, and how much more so, something spiritual is so much more than anything physical can be. And therefore, all we want is to be bottled to Hashem, to be nullified before Hashem. Like the Gemara says in Chagiga, that Shekei Echais Keneged Kolon, Karsulei Echais Keneged Kolon, that the shins of these angels, which is still a relatively low level within the angel, it corresponds to everything below it, and then the knees of the angels correspond to everything below it, etc. Because everything's really bottled, it's all nullified before Hashem. And that's the meaning of what we say in Birchas Krishma, Hakol Yirei Memuchasela. We say that all shall exalt you forever. That the more we exalt Hashem, we never get to the end. There's always more that we can say to praise Hashem. Yeah. And that's because we're totally bottled, we're totally nothing before Hashem. But this fact that Hashem is so elevated beyond us, it doesn't make Hashem separate from us. On the contrary, if everything's bottled to Hashem, then everything is one with Hashem. And this is what Aaron's doing. He's trying to bring us with this thirst and with this bittul into oneness and the dveikos, to cleave to Hashem and to be one with Hashem. And that's why sometimes it says Aaron and Moshe, and other times Moshe and Aaron. Like Rashi says that this is because they're both equal, because sometimes we need Aaron first. We need to start with davening, with passion, and then that will inspire our Torah mitzvahs. Other times Moshe comes first. We have to start with Torah mitzvahs, and only through doing Torah mitzvahs properly, then we'll be able to daven. But either way, these are the two guides that allow us to connect Hashem and to ascend, like we said, Miyala Bar Hashem, to ascend on Hashem's mountain. It's all through Moshe, and these are the journeys that we have to go through spiritually. So this is the first mimer. Now we'll continue with the next mimer, Eila Masei, as well. So again, the point of the previous mimer is that all Torah mitzvahs and davening is about dveikos, about cleaving to Hashem. And how do we do it? Aaron inspires us to daven and lift ourselves towards Hashem. Moshe brings down godliness, which is Torah mitzvahs. When we learn Torah and do mitzvahs, then we're learning with godliness and doing godliness inside us, and that brings Hashem down, and then we have the two paths to dveikos, from up to down and from down to up. Okay, now next moment begins. Eila Masei b'nei Yisrael asher yatzu me'eretz Mitzrayim letzivosam b'yad Moshe v'Aaron. That these are the journeys of b'nei Yisrael, of the Israelites who left Egypt, led by Moshe and Aaron. So a few questions. It says these are the journeys in plural, and then it continues who left where we left Egypt. Now there was only one journey to leave Egypt. The rest of the journeys were after we had already left Egypt. Also, why does it say in the hands of Moshe and Aaron? Especially since some of the journeys were after Aaron had already passed away. We also need to understand what was the purpose of all these 42 journeys. It keeps on saying that they traveled here, they camped there, then they traveled somewhere else. And then we have Vayhi bin Soya, that when the Oren traveled, then Moshe says, Kuma Hashem, get up Hashem, and then everyone else would travel, and he'd say, get up Hashem, v'yanusa masanecha, and chase away, make your those who hate you flee. And then when the Oren stopped, then Moshe would say, Shuva Hashem, return Hashem. So we need to understand what was going on. It wasn't just a physical journey, but there's a lot of spiritualism in here, and we need to understand what it's about. Now, the ultimate goal, the end of the 42 journeys, was to get to Yarden Yericho, to get to the Jordan by the next to the city of Yericho. So we need to understand what that means as well. Now, where were they traveling? They were traveling through the desert. So the desert is called Midbar Amim, the desert of nations, which implies that it's a place of klippa of all the different nations. And the pasuk says that Midbar, that Hashem took us through the desert. And what type of desert is it? Nachash Sarf Akrav. It's a place of serpents, snakes, scorpions. It's a bad place. And what does that mean spiritually? It's a place of klippa. Now, Knesset Yisrael, the Jewish collective, is called Rachel. Like the pasuk says, Rachel mevakal b'nei, that Rachel cries for her children. So now Rachel represents the Jewish people in general. And there's another pasuk. Rachel also means a sheep. It says, Karachel lifnei geizer nelama, like a sheep in front of those who shearing it, she was silent. Now it's only a sheep that has this characteristic, that it gets sheared, and also it allows itself to be sheared, and it doesn't kick, it doesn't fight back. So what is Rachel? Rachel is Malchus. Now Malchus is a unique sphere. It is what gives energy to the lower worlds. Malchus is the lowest of the 10 spheres, but it's also the sort of mother of the world below it. And even Klippa receives its chayes, its energy through Malchus, but only from the external. And that external is called hair. And that's like the sheep's wool, because hair you can cut it off, and it's not part of the body itself. It doesn't hurt to cut off. So therefore it's considered a chitzonius, external, not from the actual, not part of the actual body. And therefore chitzonius klippa, which is chitzonius, it's also external, receives its energy, its life force from the external, and even that only after it's cut off from its source. Now going back to the pasuk, Karachel of nelama, that like a sheep in front of its shearers, she is silent. That when is she silent? Only in front of her shearers, which so that means that Malchus has two parts. It on one hand it's the power of speech, on the other hand it's silence. That is when the speech, the revelation is too much, so then a symptom is necessary, contraction and concealment is necessary, and it becomes silent. So it limits the energy to so that it shouldn't be overpowering. So now, the purpose of all the journeys through the desert was to get rid of like we say, the even say Aaron, and then Kuma Hashem v'yanusum sanecha. So it's all about making the enemies, the haters, run away, that they shouldn't be able to take any chayes from Malchus, because the problem, the concern always with Malchus is because it's giving out energy in a way that it's packaged for the recipient. It's not beyond the recipient, but packaged for the recipient. Therefore, it's possible that it can be taken by a recipient of Klippa to a bad way, and therefore we have to chase away the enemies, the haters, and that's through Bnei Yisrael traveling. Now it says about Nasa Adam B'Tzalmen Kidmosenu, let us make man in the image and the form of Hashem. And he'll control the fish and the animals. Now, this is especially true about Bnei Yisrael, that they are in Hashem's form and image. Now, there are two words here used in Hashem's image and in Hashem's form. And they represent Yichud Allah and Yichud Tata, the higher unification and lower unification. So the lower unification, Matos-Masei, in Hashem's form, means that what we see in this world and all the creations, although they appear to be self-sufficient and real for themselves, but really their whole energy is only godliness, and that's what's keeping them going. Then the high level, B'Tzalmenu, in Hashem's image, is Yichud Allah, not that, yes, they exist, but they exist because of Hashem, but that they don't really exist, that really there's only Hashem, Eino Muvadek, that just like before the world was created, there was nothing but Hashem. That's still true now. And the human, and especially the Yid, reveals these two levels of Yichud Allah and Yichud Tata, both that all creations are powered by Hashem, and that really there's only one real thing and one real existence, and that is Hashem. And the journeys through the desert were all about revealing this, and that's why it says in plural that there were lots of journeys from Egypt, because all the journeys were to get away from limitation. Mitzrayim comes with the word Meitzarim and Gvolim, all limitations and boundaries. The purpose was to transform all the seven midas, that they should all be for Hashem, like we say in Vayvarech David L'cha Hashem Agdullah V'Agvura, that all the midas, Gdullah is Chesed and Gvura and Tiferes, Netzach, Chol is Malchus, they should all be for Hashem. And then the next pasuk, L'cha Hashem Mamlacha, then Malchus should be for Hashem as well. Sorry, Chol is Yesod, sorry, and then the next pasuk, Malchus, it should all be for Hashem. And then it will be revealed, it won't be silenced. Now, each of the midas can be divided into 6, and therefore you have 7 times 6 is 42, and that's why there are 42 journeys. That's also why there's 42 words, 7 times 6 words in Honor B'Chayach. 7 psukim each have 6 words. And this is all about elevating to Hashem, and these travels are through Moshe and Aaron. Moshe is Yichud Allah, the high unification that calls out that there's Eino Muvadek, there's nothing but Hashem, and that's the name Moshe, which means that his being drawn out. It could have said that his name should have been Moshe in the past tense. He was drawn out. Why is his name Moshe, which is in present, that he is being drawn out the whole time? That's because Moshe reveals the Yichud Allah perspective, that really there's only Hashem, and Hashem is energizing anything that we see, but really the only real existence at all times is Hashem. Moshe is constantly bringing down this godly perspective, Mamale Kalmim and Sova Kalmim, how Hashem fills worlds and surrounds all the worlds. And this ray of Hashem is only like a drop in the ocean, that it's nothing and it's totally bottled compared to Hashem himself, and therefore all existence is bottled or nullified before Hashem. Now, a drop of water, it's round, and similarly this ray is round, meaning it surrounds, it's sovev. And like the pasuk says, Hine makom iti, that there's space with me, that Hashem is the space of the world is not his space, meaning that Hashem surrounds worlds, but the worlds don't contain Hashem, that it just appears that the worlds are their own existence, but really they're just part of Hashem. Now, when Moshe helped the daughters of Yisrael, it says, Dali Dalalono, that this Egyptian man, he drew water for us, and that Moshe draws water, but it's specifically for us. meaning that really there's only godliness, but just for us, the godliness energizes the world so that it looks real to us. This is the perspective of Yichud Elah, that there's really only Hashem in Shema Yisrael, which has 6 words as well. We've used the number 6 before. And through thinking about how really there's nothing but Hashem, so Vahafta, we'll love Hashem with our whole heart, meaning to transform all the midas, because it's a to transform any midah that we may be using also for things outside of just focus on Hashem, that we should use all midas just for Hashem. And Vahafta, that we should love Hashem, also means Ava, to desire, to want Hashem, but when we realize that Hashem is the only real thing, so therefore that's all we should want, and that we want, nothing else. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue from a space of the second Maimon Matos-Masei and do Taf Peites.